You know this plant, right? With its dark, glossy leaves and those striking white blooms. It's the peace lily. You see it everywhere, homes, offices, you name it. But what if this quiet, everyday plant has more to teach us than just, looking nice on a shelf? Let's dig in and see what lessons it has for us.
So let's start with this big question. We're always talking about finding peace. We treat it like it's this lost treasure we have to go out and search for, something external that we might just stumble upon if we're really lucky.
But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if peace is less like a treasure and more like a seed, something you have to plant and water and really cultivate from the inside out? And that idea, right there, is what makes the peace lily the perfect teacher.
Okay, so to really get into this, the first thing we need to do is get something straight about what this plant even is, because its name, well, it holds the first little surprise.
Get this, the peace lily isn't actually a lily at all. Botanically, it's part of the arum family, which makes it cousins with plants like the philodendron. The name peace lily just stuck, probably because its symbolism is so powerful it just kind of transcended a simple scientific label.
Now, if we get a little nerdy for a second and look at its scientific name, spathe, it actually gives us our first major clue. It's from two Greek words, spathe, which means a spathe or a sword, and phelon, which means leaf. So its name is literally describing its most famous feature, and that leads us right to our first real lesson.
Let's take a much closer look at what we all think of as the plant's flower. Because right here, we find this incredible metaphor for what really, truly matters. Okay, so that elegant, brilliant white part that we all admire, the part that looks like one perfect, pristine petal, yeah, that's not actually the flower. It's a special modified leaf called a spathe.
So the spathe, that white sail, it gets all the attention, right? But its main job is to act like a bodyguard. It's a protective shield for what's inside. The spadix, that's the bumpy stalk in the middle. That is where the tiny, humble, and actually vital flowers live. The flashy part exists to protect the essential part.
And isn't that just a perfect picture of a quiet truth? So often, the most important, life-giving work happens away from the spotlight, shielded from view. It's a powerful lesson in substance over show.
But it's not just the plant's design that's telling us something. Let's move on, because its day-to-day habits are just as insightful.
I mean, one of the big reasons this plant is so popular is that it's just so resilient. In its native rainforests, it lives on the forest floor, way down under this thick canopy of trees that blocks out most of the sun. It hasn't just adapted to survive with less, it's actually learned to thrive.
It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it? The plant doesn't need a perfect sunny spot to bloom. It shows us that you don't need ideal conditions to grow. You can still create something beautiful, even when things feel a little dim, a little challenging.
And then there's its dramatic side. If you've ever seen a thirsty peace lily, you know what I'm talking about. It is the definition of drama. The leaves just completely droop, a totally open and honest signal that it needs something. But here's the magic. Give it water, and in just a few hours, it's standing tall again, completely restored. It's this beautiful lesson that showing your vulnerability, admitting you have a need, isn't weakness. It's the first and fastest step to becoming strong again.
So, we've talked about what the plant is and how it behaves. But what about what it does? What does it actually contribute to the space around it?
This is where science just adds this whole other incredible layer to the story. Turns out, the peace lily was a star player in a famous NASA study on clean air. And what they found was that these plants can literally pull common pollutants. I'm talking nasty stuff like benzene and formaldehyde right out of the air. Just think about what that discovery does for the symbolism here. It means this is a plant that doesn't just look peaceful, it's an active force. It literally purifies the atmosphere, making the environment healthier for everyone in it. It suggests that true peace isn't passive, it actually changes things for the better.
And you can see this so clearly in its appearance. That brilliant white spathe stands out so starkly because it's rising out of those deep, dark green leaves. The light is defined by the darkness it comes from. It's a perfect metaphor for how peace is often most profound, most noticeable when it shows up right in the middle of our struggles.
So when we pull all these quiet lessons together, what do they all add up to? What is the peace lily ultimately inviting us to understand?
When you look at the whole picture, the plant speaks this really clear language. It's a language of humility, where the most valuable things are protected, not flaunted. It speaks of resilience, of thriving in tough conditions. It shows us honesty in admitting our needs, and the transformative power that a peaceful presence can have on everything around it.
So, the ultimate lesson from the peace lily is this. Peace isn't something that just happens when all our problems magically disappear. It's not about having a perfect life. It's something that grows from a life that's rooted deeply enough to endure the shadows and to rise again after the thirst.
And in the end, this humble plant leaves us with a challenge. It suggests that peace is not just a passive idea to admire from a distance. It's an active, living force that's meant to bloom from within us for the good of everyone and everything around us. So the only real question left is, how are you going to tend to yours?